Right, we are live, Mustafa. You can start.
Welcome everyone to our live stream event. We are currently streaming on YouTube and LinkedIn. So if you know anybody who wants to join, you can invite him to have a look at us. With that said, we also would like to remind you that we are recording the session. So if you're not comfortable with it, feel free to turn your camera off. And let's begin then. One second. So our talk today will be with Aashish Sharma. We are very happy to have him here from IBM, and it will have the title Launch is Not Equal to Scale. Maybe a brief introduction about myself. My name is Mustafa. I'm originally from Egypt, like you see from my background here. I have 4 years of experience together in product management, data, and cybersecurity. Worked with B2B and B2C clients. With B2B, Giesecke and Devrient, a German company, and also Mantrag and Bus, and also worked in workforce management. And B2C was more related to football data analytics. Previously, I lived in Germany, and also that's where I did my bachelor degrees in mechatronics at TUM. And that's it. Yeah, so maybe just a brief introduction about product people and what we do. We do interim product management and product leadership and product ops. We have 42 in-house employees, and that's basically how we make our money. And how we give back to the community is by creating these free events where we can share knowledge with everyone across the product management industry. So let's make a small icebreaker. I have here a question prepared for you, and it's what aspect of scaling a product do you find most challenging? You can scan the QR code shown at the right, and you can also type the code shown here at slido.com. The options you will have is managing technical scalability, or ensuring user adoption at scale, or navigating regulatory challenges in scaling, or also balancing a feature expansion for scale. So go ahead and give me your answers and let's share them. One second. So we have, as a result, 50% have chosen managing technical scalability, and the other half have chosen ensuring user, or actually now it's like 2/3 have chosen managing technical scalability. Now a third has chosen ensuring user adoption at scale. And I would also agree that technical scalability could be a big difficulty. Like you start with some tools, and then maybe when your user base grows, then these tools could sometimes make a difficulty in scaling up with a growing number of users. And I'm sure Ashish will also like tell us more about the challenges he faced when scaling products. So with that said, I can switch to you, Ashish.
Hey, thanks, Mustafa and Sagar, for hosting this session. And yeah, definitely, like the quizzes which you have, the questions which you have kept is very very relevant to the session. And before I start, let me just give a brief introduction here. So, hey, hi everyone. I am Aashish Sharma, and currently I'm working as a product manager at IBM. And yeah, like, so I basically, brought born and brought up in one of these small town and village, or I would say village, in a Bihar, and where, but I haven't stayed much. But moving, like, after around third or fourth standard, I moved out from my hometown and then moved to other different states for my further studies. And all these, engagement with different people from different culture has given me a very wide and a holistic perspective about life. And it is something which happened way early in my life. So and then I started my career with in the cybersecurity domain with Infosys and other of the companies. um, and then I did my MBA from I am Cozy Code, and post that I work with Deloitte, and then I'm working with IBM. So yeah, so again, this topic, launch is not equal to scale, is very, very, I think, when I break through the product management role, like, that the first product or the first thing which I have started working got completely crashed. Like, that was a very, very, embarrassing situation when you're starting in, for a particular for, when exactly when just you just started your career, and then you are meeting such a disaster, right? So, but that learning has given me a very different perspective and a very different, experience, and learned a lot from that mistake. So when I think the first thing which we should start, with, is with the key terms, right? The launch and the scale, right? Both terms itself is completely different. So when I'm saying launch, when you're launching a product, right, there, the scenario, the scope is quite different, right? But when we are scaling the product, then again, the problems, the number of user groups, right, the number of user who will be using your product, everything is completely different. So for example, let's say, let me just talk about this experience itself, like when I had, right? So I was working on one of the okay, yeah, let me just share my screen. So I don't have the slides. I actually, refrain from slides. I would rather prefer to uh, go solo audio and give that particular, share my experience, right? So okay, is my screen visible right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So so this is the only slide I have created, right? But this is really, really powerful when you're working as a product manager, right? So yeah, I was at the point where I was talking about the difference between the launch and the scale. So when we are launching a product, uh, the scope of the product itself is very narrow, right? For example, when I started working on one of the product, which I where exactly I got completely, failed. I was not able. I launched the product successfully, but I couldn't scale it, right? So that product. So I was actually working on a facial recognition algorithm, right? I was building that, and so the initial set of people. So what exactly we did? So that we have a ML model. We trained it, right? We had a limited data. We didn't have much, data to train our model. And when we started with the MEP, we have a limited set of people who were using that same product, right? Using the facial recognition. So it was working very, very fine, right? With the limited set of 10, 15, or 20 odd people, right? It was working fine. It was always, always accurately matching all those faces perfectly. Like if it is not matching, it will say, okay, the face is not matching. Probably you should, try, maybe is because your profile is not there in the database or something like that. But when we go ahead and scale the product, right? When the same product was utilized in different scenarios, like where the light itself is not perfect, right? Where the images are very, very close, right? The database which we have created, the ML model which we have trained, right? The images which are getting tested, the users who are going to test, who are testing that product, right? So it's, let's say, the image is very, very relevant, very close to someone else's image in the database. So it used to correlate or basically match a wrong person, and used to go ahead and match it to a different profile. So it was a complete crash, and it was a massive, massive impact, because you're basically logging a person to, you're basically mapping a different person to a different profile, right? So it's like opening of someone else personal information to someone else. So that was a massive blunder. And what exactly the issue which happened there was, that we haven't tested, we basically tested it when we had launched it in a in a already, defined environment. We know that the lighting is good, we know that, everything is fine, everything is in control. But when we scale the product, when the same product was getting utilized in different environments, where maybe, the lightings are not good, where a lot of different faces are coming up, maybe someone from different state, or maybe, from different geography altogether, right? So so it completely crashed. So this was a really important and very very curious problem which we're solving. But we completely crashed when we scaled it. So few of the things which I learned, and when we basically failed, is it's like when we are scaling, the technology plays a very important role, right? The kind of technology you're building, it's very important we do the performance testing properly. So as a product manager, maybe you yourself has to get into that particular field and get it tested. Sometimes you can't just rely on the engineering team or some other team, so that okay, everything is perfectly fine. But as a PM, you sometimes it's become imperative. If it is something where as a PM you could test it, it's imperative to go ahead and do the testing. Probably go ahead and do the testing in different environment, or different, or with a different test data, if you're, let's say, if you're building those kind of product. So this is what exactly I learned. And once I learned it, I understood, okay, that the next product which I started working on, so that fared very well in the market. Like we were able to scale it right from the 10 to a million users very easily. There was no such issues. There was certain issues with related to the latency and all, but the functional uh, features, or the functional, the core functionality is still working very fine. So 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 one thing is, in this case, right, when you're scaling the product, the technology plays a very important role. At the same time, the next thing is the testing. So the testing is like, it should very very, you should be able to test it perform you should be able to test it with different environment, different set of uh, devices, with a different set of test data and all. And with the kind of, let's say, if you have scaled the product and a lot of users are using the same product at the same time, right, then uh, performance testing and all, everything should be done very perfectly. And the third thing which is very important, which I have seen, is to always limit or always define the scope properly. When you're building the product, always important to have all those edge cases written properly, mapped it properly, and get it tested very very exhaustively. Then only you will be 100% sure as a product manager that when you're scaling the product, you are able to achieve that expectation from the high leadership. So these are like some of the important things which I have learned. And from the failure, like that. And especially like when we are hitting the first product itself as a failure, that is where the learning is. So definitely. And I'm sure maybe when I'm moving ahead, there could be other chances where I would fail, but I will definitely gonna learn from it, and make sure that we don't repeat it. So so this is not the complete story of that, where I can understand, like, launching a product is a completely different thing, but when you're scaling it and making it sure it is successful is a completely different thing. So when you're launching, just don't be completely excited and just go ahead and launch it for the massive number of users, or always make sure that all those hiccups, all those things, when the product is going to scale, could encounter. So all those things needs to be covered and very, very carefully it should be thought. So again, like the three things which is the first thing is, the technology. The second is it should be massively tested, and third thing is, it should have a proper scope. Everything is should be written down over there, so that it's very important that we all the edge cases are met there. Yeah. So with this, I would stop a bit. In case we have any questions from the community, probably we can talk about it, and we'll see that what's the interest here.
Okay, thank you very much, Ashish. Uh, if you can stop sharing screen, I can then
Yeah, yeah,
go.
yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you very much for sharing your experience. The audience now has time, like, to ask you some questions. Maybe anything related to what stories you have said, or also related to your experience. Just scan the QR code here. And if you have problems scanning the QR code, you can also go to slido.com and then copy the code written here. Yeah. And until you do this, I can maybe tell you more about product people until we gather some questions. So maybe a bit about the use cases that we cover. We come in as interim or one second, sorry. As interim or fractional product managers, we can cover permanent positions, as it often will take you like 3 to 9 months until you can hire someone. We also cover parental leaves, and also if there are any urgent initiatives that has to be delivered, we can also take over this. We also come as product coaches or consultants. We can help you coach your product management team, set up personal development plans, and appraise their skills. And also we can help in creating and streamlining your processes, and also help you scaling, which is the topic of our also talk today. And also we can help you doing product discovery, doing market and user research, or also running an MVP, ideating with the team, and so on. Also, just a reminder, the code is above for anybody who's still looking for questions. Just a reminder. We also work with B2C clients, so some of them maybe you know already, like Zalando, Tia, Scout24, FreeNow, DeepL, Freeletics, and Backmarket. So across also a lot of different industries. And also here's another set of also B2B clients we have worked with before, like Utopia, Pyland, Havi, and the World Health Organization. And you can also go through all of them and find our use cases on the website. Maybe some interesting stats also to our company. We have supported 200 cross-functional teams, and we had plus 70 clients, all ranging from Series A startups to publicly listed companies. We are a team of 42 product leaders and managers. They're all in-house and full-time to be able to help you and help our clients. And also we have 62% women in the team and 66% in leadership. That's because we also have a bias to promote according to skills, and we also want to attract more women to the tech industry and hire also based on the CVs. So here you can have a look on our diverse team currently that we have. And we are also currently hiring. So if you are looking for a job, feel free to scan the QR code and look on the open positions we have now. Also, you can subscribe to our newsletter and receive our product stories and what we have done lately. And that was it. Then we can go to the questions. Let me check. Okay, Ashish, I have a first question here for you. In your journey as a product manager, what do you consider the most common pitfalls that prevent a product from scaling effectively, even after a successful launch?
Okay, so one of the most important thing, which basically could let your product from launch to scale to fail, is the is the basically the testing, right? So see, like, the first thing, maybe that you can have your technology bolstered, everything working fine. You would have make your architecture, whatever thing which you have prepared, right? Everything is scalable, and you have, let's say, you have built your architecture and everything, right? Everything is fine, working fine. But if all those things are not getting tested, right? All these things are not getting tested with all those different or variables coming into the environment, then definitely there, when the people are using such a high scale, then there would be, because you don't know that how the people will be using the product. I think you would have seen with the OpenAI, right? The same thing with you would have seen with the Bard and all, and Gemini, right? Even like they would not have thought of, okay, people would be asking these kind of questions, right, and to the chatbot, and it will just answers anything funny, or it could be very very counterintuitive. So so in that case, I think that one of the most important thing is the testing, and making sure that that you have considered all those variables, right, into the picture, and you have actually tested it massively. So I think the testing is one of the core important thing, to make sure that when you're launching it to scale successfully.
Okay. And then, uh, second, then another question is, what are maybe early indication that a product upon launch will not scale? So any maybe signals that your product's currently not ready or will not be able to scale?
Yeah. So one of the thing is first, like, that the scope. So for example, let's say if you have building a product and the scope is very much narrow, right? But when you're launching, right, the scope is going to improve, is going to basically increase, or going to get broadened, right? So if that, if you have launched it, and the scope is not similar to what is it for the scaling, when we're exactly going to scaling, the scope is going to change. So when you're launching it with the limited set of people, I think you need to ensure that that all those variables, all those scope parameters, when your product is going to scale, is basically cater into at the launch stage itself, right? Before actually making it as a scalable, or basically making it open it for such a high number of users, or it could be it could, yeah, definitely with the high number of users. The another thing is, which is important, to make sure that uh, there is no such pressure from the higher ups, right? What happens, we launch it because we have the deadline, right? We have such a huge pressure from the leadership, and we just go ahead and launch it, right? And when we launched it, definitely because it's a narrow scope and everything, uh, high chances everything will work fine, right? But if it is something which you have done it, and you have already know there's a lot of technical depth there, and you have not considered it, you're not recovered from those technical depths, when actually your product is going to scale, definitely is going to fail. So it's very important that that if a product is launched under very high pressure environment, definitely, when we are scaling, take some time, take some bandwidth, and make sure that no technical depths are there when you're scaling it.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay, so the next question is a bit related to you. So, given your passion for continuous learning, how do you stay updated on the latest trends and best practices in product management? especially in the dynamic software industry. Do you have any favorite resources you could recommend for the audience?
Yeah. So definitely, that one of the important thing being as a PM and always make sure that you're learning is becoming curious. It's always important as a PM that you need to be curious. So even if it is not something from your field, let's say if you're working with a legal team, right, you need to be very curious, like what exactly those terminologies, all those things. So it's more about habit of learning rather than just learning only about product management. So I would so one of the thing which we need to inculcate as a product manager to make sure that we are always motivated is always be curious, whether it is not directly hitting your profile or your career, but it's very imperative to be very curious. But specific to the product manager, if you talk about, I would suggest the hands-on work, like do a bit of side projects. That is where you basically go ahead and participate in some of the case studies. You basically start living the life of product manager, you start wearing the hat of a product manager and start thinking in line to that. And also try to read a lot of the case studies, like let's say the people who would have won that particular case competition. Go ahead and go through the presentation, just see how exactly they cater to that question or problem statement, and how much variability or how much factors they have considered in order to come up with a solution. But if you want me to be the another source of good source of getting the understanding of product management is do the certifications. There are a lot of industry certifications. I have completed around more than 6 certifications related to product management within a year. So it's like I started with PSPO 1, that professional scrum product owner 1. Then I did professional scrum product owner 2. Then I did safe, then POPM, and all these certifications. These all these certifications basically help me to understand the product owner side of product management also. At the same time also help me to understand when you are working with agile environment or scaled agile environment, how exactly as a PM when you're leading with multiple teams, how exactly you're going to handle all those situations. So all these, so it's not just a single source or single category, but it's a multiple category of information, or the section which we need to have a visibility, or basically tap all those sources. The another one I would say from the YouTube, like Try Exponent, it is very good channel, I would suggest. Or even the product people channel, I have actually followed the product people YouTube channel, where I've seen people sharing the experience. So as a PM, that it's not like hard coded or the coding where exactly you go and learn things, but it's more about learning from experience. So yeah, so all these sources is definitely going to help to have a holistic understanding of product management.
Okay. You also mentioned you were before in cybersecurity and then switched to product management. Was this like curiosity which drove you to switch fields, or what did maybe was your main driver that you said, I want now to leave cybersecurity and focus more on product management?
No, actually, like when I get into the MBA, right? So prior to that, since being the security, as like when you are working with in the cyber security, so research is something very important, right? Because cybersecurity is a very evolving field. You have a lot of different hacks going on, a lot of attacks, right? And everything, all these things are very very much different from each other, right? So it's not like a single maybe the processes could be the same, but the research work is very high in cybersecurity. So so there is always an analytical mindset which basically have been there when I worked in the security domain. But when I get into the MBA program, there I got the experience of business side of it, right? So I just started off marrying my security research skills, analytical skills, problem solving skills, and with the business skills which I got when I pursued MBA. So all these things was a perfect amalgamation of different set of skills, and then I unified everything and just see, okay, this is the product management is the role where I can actually utilize all these skill sets and justify the role, right? So that's where I actually found this role, and I started getting more passionate about it. And definitely the growth and the career, that's the different spec, but this is something which motivated me and drive me all to get into product management.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Another question more related like to scalability, and it's what role does user feedback and data analytics play to identify like the scalability challenges post-launch? How can you leverage these insights to make informed decisions during the scaling phase?
Yeah. So that's a very good question. That it's important to have the post scaled or post successful, or I would say that post scale assessment, right? So once you have scaled your product, there where that's exactly where you get a massive amount of data, right? Massive amount of data to do research and do the analytics and understand what the next set of scalability looks like, right? What where exactly you're going to uh, shift your basically lift and shift your product to the next level, right? So there it's very important that you are targeting the right set of people or right set of users information, right? So when you are having your vision right, you understand, okay, this is where exactly my user my product would be massively used, right? So it's very important to remain focused and remain do the research and analytics around the user group which you are targeting and which relates with the vision of your product, or the target user persona for which you have built the product. So you need to actually get rid of the noise from the different set of users groups, maybe which they are just playing around the product, but that is not your target user persona. So I think that is where it's very important that you narrow down your research and data analysis around the set of user or the target user persona for which you want your product to be actually getting utilized. So in that case, like once you have that all those analysis done, you basically understand, okay, your actual main user persona, how exactly they're using the product, is there proper adoption or not. So all these things is very important to understand, and once you have that visibility, or once you're able to identify, okay, where exactly the drop is or where exactly you need to work on, then you figure it out, okay, what all solutions you need to bring in to have that level of adoption in your target user persona.
Okay, thank you. Then last question we have here. Um, Maybe you mentioned it before, but like maybe someone asking if you can mention an experience, a specific experience that significantly influenced your perspective on product scaling, um, that brought to you maybe like its importance to think of it beforehand and so on, and that made a notable impact on your approach.
Okay, yeah. So one other thing which really helped me when a product is getting scaled is again that is the analytics. That is where exactly you get the gold mine, right? So so when we are scaling the product, it's very important to understand your user flow, right? Your funnel. So every product has a defined goal, right? Let's say if you build a product, you always want your user persona to go through that particular ideal flow or ideal flow which you are defined. So it's very important to have your funnel planned very well, and then understand when a user is passing from each layer to the end of the funnel, where exactly in the problem is. And once you have actually find that problem, then only you can go ahead and start understanding and build the solution. Until unless we don't actually find the right set of problem in that particular funnel, it's and just solving or doing the experiment, I would not say that it's a vain, but doing experimentation for the right set of problem is very important. Maybe sometimes what happens that we don't have any visibility on what is the problem which we need to solve, and we keep on doing experimentation around the problem which not even worth solving. So for me, where exactly I understood that it's very important to have your funnel in your analytics platform very very definitely like very strategically planned in the funnel. The funnel should be very very strategically planned in that particular platform, and then you should able to identify where exactly the problem is, the right problem, and then we need to come up with a different set of solutions, and then finally do the experimentation around that particular problem, and make sure that that the ideal funnel is where you're getting that adoption or not.
Cool. Okay, so I think that was it from the question side. Thank you very much, Ashish, for sharing your stories and your perspective on scaling a product and its importance and what also to keep in mind when launching. Thank you, everybody who joined us in also in the streaming platforms on YouTube or LinkedIn. And that was it. See you then next time. Thank you all.